The new hit for Renault, the Kwid, takes on the big rival, the Alto from Maruti Suzuki. The Supreme Court bans 2-litre diesel engines in New Delhi. And we have the review of the 2 new scooters from Hero. Hello everyone, this is CNB. Thank you for joining us. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patankar. We're going to begin today's program by discussing something that, well, the whole country has been talking about, but it only affects people here in the national capital of New Delhi. It's the fact that the Supreme Court has issued this order saying that no diesel cars with engines over 2-litre displacement will be sold in the national capital region anymore. And of course, there are certain other restrictions in terms of what happens with truck and bus entry, etc. But it's really this one point that's been discussed the most. What exactly has the court said? Well, first, let's just get you the big news.
It's not just top-end cars and SUVs, even popular ones like Mahindra Boleros, XUVs and Toyota Innovas, which have been hit by the landmark judgment. There are 3 key decisions for Delhi, as well as bordering areas like Gurgaon and Noida. The first, a headline grabber. No new registration till March 31st of any diesel vehicle with an engine larger than 2000cc. Bar all trucks using Delhi as a thoroughfare, these will need to bypass Delhi, that will need the cooperation of bordering Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. Convert all taxis to CNG by 1st March. This will affect services such as Uber, Ola and all web app-based taxi services. Diesel cars older than 10 years will not be allowed into Delhi. Notably, the court said the common man will not be affected by this ban on top-end diesel engines. An IIT Kanpur study had said that diesel vehicles contribute to 70% of the pollution caused by vehicles in Delhi. However, for every 2000cc diesel vehicle, there are multiple smaller diesel engine vehicles which meet exactly the same emission standard as the larger ones and so are just as polluting.
We are celebrating because it's been a 15-year struggle. We raised the issue of diesel cars way back in early 2000 and yet the automobile industry never listened to us.
Auto manufacturers and taxi operators are unhappy.
अब हमने 2 साल पहले डाली हुई है तो अब ये मार्च के बाद कहाँ ले जाएं इसको ये तो बताना पड़ेगा ना गवर्नमेंट को या कोर्ट को जो भी है.
The Delhi government, which says diesel is 7 times more polluting than petrol, has told the Supreme Court it wants a complete ban on diesel. It is not clear whether the court will have a follow-up order, given that after 3 months the big engine diesel cars can return.
But the latest order shows that the writing's on the wall and it's only a matter of time before not just Delhi but India moves towards cleaner energy norms. In fact, North India is currently 10 years behind the latest Euro standards.
Now, my view on this is pretty clear. Why restrict engines or fuel types? Why not simply restrict emissions from the tailpipe of any car or any bus or any vehicle? Well, that's what we are eventually moving towards, and I hope that the court really cracks down on this as well, because the government is happy to follow a roadmap that sees all of this changing only by about 2019 for Euro 5 and then 2021 for Euro 6. It's too far away given the kind of pollution we're seeing everywhere, and so I do hope that something happens sooner. I asked all of you what you thought on Twitter, and interesting replies, because 17% of you agreed with the Supreme Court decision, 53% of you said it's a short-sighted move, and 30% say that a lot more needs to be done. Now, this isn't a scientific poll, it's just what you said on Twitter to me, but it's always nice to know what you're thinking, so thank you for that. Now let's move on and talk about the car that I'm with. We've been waiting for some time now, unlike a lot of the others, to bring on that big battle that the Kwid needs to be taking on in the small car space with its chief rival, the Maruti Suzuki Alto. Why did we wait? Well, we wanted to see if these massive bookings that Renault has actually stay with Renault, and mostly, yes, not too many cancellations. So now we know it's a big success. Let's see how it does against its rival. promise of a small, affordable car, and yet one that looks like an ample hatch and is styled like an SUV. That is the Renault Kwid. When Renault Nissan CEO Carlos Ghosn first announced his intentions to do an ultra low-cost car, no one imagined the car would look like this. Everybody thought it's going to look more like what the Nano does, and nobody would have imagined an ample-looking car like this one. The Kwid certainly has size as its biggest advantage, and more than that, it's also the stance. The fact that it takes inspiration from the Duster's design and almost has a mini SUV kind of a look going on, well, that I think is a tremendous USP. At the time, Carlos Ghosn had also promised prices would stay between 3 and 4 lakh rupees. As it turned out, that was a googly, because the Kwid was eventually launched at 2,56,000 rupees and tops off at 3,53,000. Now those are near identical prices to the Maruti Suzuki Alto 800, and they are lower than the Alto K10s. The Alto K10 does have the AMT option, and that's something that the Kwid promises to get in the new year. So, prices aside, is the Kwid really the car to take down the mighty market leader then? Put the Alto 800 or K10 next to the Kwid and it looks like a no contest situation. The Alto family got new looks last year, but the Kwid easily stands out as the more ample, tougher, contemporary and different design. The larger size and bigger haunches means that the cabin space is also bigger. Inside the two cars, you will find the use of plasticky grey all around. But the Kwid's top-end model features a large touchscreen with navigation and Bluetooth, which is a big step up for this segment. The Kwid and Alto both offer an optional driver side airbag, but Renault insists that the Kwid is crash test ready, while we know that the Alto is not. However, I have no way to substantiate Renault's claim, as no tests have been carried out to my knowledge. The Kwid can certainly accommodate more people and more luggage than the Alto could. Now, the Kwid certainly has a very noisy engine, but then that's pretty much true of this entire class of vehicles. On the 800 Alto, though, you do get an engine that's a little bit whiny sounding, so from that perspective this is slightly better. It's also better on power. The delivery of that power is something that's more reassuring in the case of the Kwid, something that the competition doesn't necessarily have. Both the Kwid and the Alto 800 have a 3-cylinder 800cc engine. Of course, the Alto K10s is a larger unit. But the Renault churns out 53 bhp, which sits somewhere in between the two power outputs for the two Altos. The Alto K10 of course gets a larger engine and has an output of 66 bhp. In terms of torque as well, the Kwid seems to hold its own. All these cars have manual 5-speed gearboxes. Of course, the Alto K10 has that AMT. The Alto's gearbox and steering are two aspects where the Suzuki experience with small cars shines through. The Kwid's gearbox feels sluggish and its steering is also not very precise, almost emphasizing the car's bigger size by being a bit cumbersome. But where the Kwid races ahead of its rivals is in the handling and ride departments. The Kwid feels mature and solid, taking bad roads in its stride and also cornering with much more confidence than the Alto. Ride quality comes across like a bigger car's, and that is despite the fact that it is not a heavy car in the first place. The Alto feels clunky and primitive by comparison. Occupant comfort was never considered a very big deal for any first-time car buyer because existing cars came up short on space and ride. The Kwid will change that benchmark, and if buyers take to it in a big way, it will mean that rivals will need to get back to the drawing board with greater earnest. So the Kwid will be the benchmark then, staying on cost but offering a more modern car than its segment has ever seen. That will only mean that the segment will stay hot with more value and better quality coming down the chain to the buyer. So I happily crown the Kwid as the new king of the small car space in comparison to the Alto 800, the K10, the Datsun Go and the Hyundai Eon 2. And now I have a very keen eye on what Maruti and even Hyundai will bring us next. Well, now this is supposed to be a budget car, and so I'm not surprised or disappointed not to find power windows at the rear, even on the top end model of the Kwid. It's similar for the others too, but what is different, and something I do find annoying, the seat belt. You need to sort of pre-adjust the length of it with the buckle because it's not self-retracting, and I'm not sure if that is such a great idea. It's alright from a safety point of view, but it's acceptable, it's not great. And both the Altos as well as the Eon have self-retracting rear seat belts, so that's a little bit of a miss on the Kwid for me. But otherwise, yes, of course the car does impress. Let's take a very short break here on CNB. We're back with plenty more. Please keep watching. Welcome back to CNB. Now let's talk about a growing trend in the automobile space for both car and bike makers. A lot of them are getting very tech savvy. We've been reporting that to you consistently now, and we have two big developments that happened this week with two car makers launching smartphone apps. Here are more details.
Smart cars are fast becoming a reality in India as automakers realize the potential of seamless integration between the smartphone and the car. Jaguar Land Rover launched its new smartphone integration platform, In Control Apps, allowing owners to use popular apps like NDTV, Zomato, Mapma India and Hungama through the infotainment system. This allows the user to surf any app seamlessly, listen to live news streams and get updates and breaking news on the go. This technology, developed in conjunction with Bosch, is compatible across Apple iOS and Google Android platforms. And it's not just high-end automakers that are adding these smart features, but also large volume car companies like Honda, which are bringing the experience to their owners. Honda Connect, an intelligent automotive application for smartphones, gives customers the power to connect with their car. With this app, one can book a servicing appointment and receive important vehicle alerts. This application works in sync with the connected device that will need to be installed in the car. This device costs 2,999 rupees. The connectivity features are exclusively available across the new Honda models like the Jazz, City and CR-V.
Now, we've had so much going on the show of late, especially being so busy with the awards process, that we haven't been able to show you two pending reviews that many of you have asked about. These are the two new scooters from Hero, the Duet and the Maestro Edge. Bala spent some time with them, and here are our reviews.
The new heroes in town are out to prove a point in the scooter segment ruled by Honda Activa. One of the new heroes, Maestro Edge, has already won the prestigious Scooter of the Year at the NDTV Car and Bike Awards 2016.
And the Scooter of the Year is the Hero Maestro Edge.
The other, more practical Duet isn't too far behind in terms of capability from its sibling. But it is Maestro Edge that packs in all the goods to take on the mighty Activa. Completely redeveloped in-house, Hero has looked to offer appeal, features and a peppy engine in both scooters. The Maestro Edge looks to be more bold in character from the regular Maestro in the market. The sharper lines, attractive front aero ducts and stylish silencer give the Maestro an edge quite literally. The Duet has a more no-nonsense look to it, but at the same time it's pleasing to the eye, especially dressed in this red shade. The LED tail lights are also quite striking on both scooters.
Now what Hero has tried to do with a bit more appeal on both the Maestro and the Edge is to add more functional elements on both scooters. What I really like, and is what's quite noticeable, is this fuel filling pod on the Maestro, stylishly done here, integrated well with the overall design, and also the seat, which opens with a little turn along the ignition, and you've got lots and lots of space under the seat here. And also functional elements inside here. You got the USB mobile charging point as well as a little light, which is quite handy, especially in the night.
On the road, there's little to separate the two scooters in terms of performance, as they share the same engine, although the Duet is a tad heavier with a metal body. The new 4-stroke air-cooled 110cc engine puts out 8.31 bhp, mated to a smooth CVT gearbox.
Now the new engines developed in-house by Hero does offer a fairly smooth and refined ride. Both the scooters does feel zippy in city traffic, but out on the open road, you push the bikes beyond 80 kilometers an hour, the engines feel a bit strained. So you do want to keep it between 60 to 80 at cruising speeds, and you won't have much to complain about. And also Hero will use the learnings from this 110cc engine to develop a 125cc engine, and that scooter could already be in the works.
The telescopic front suspension aids handling, and the Maestro Edge with the 12-inch front alloys feels more solid and confident even while braking. The Hero Maestro Edge is offered in two variants, the LX without alloys priced at 49,500 rupees and the top-end VX at 50,700 ex-showroom Delhi. The Duet is also available in two variants with ex-showroom prices starting at 48,400 rupees. At these prices, Hero has launched a two-pronged scooter attack at the Activa, and that strategy will be complete with a 125cc scooter that's also coming next.
Well, the onset of winter here, especially in the northern part of the country, brings with it some beautiful weather. And it's nice to see everybody out, kids playing as well, and it's really all of this that we're trying to protect in many ways. So when you talk about what's happening with the environment and maybe certain sacrifices that need to be made, that's what you've got to think about, the future of these kids and all of us on this planet. With that very philosophical thought, I'm going to say goodbye to you. In the meanwhile, remember, New Year resolution time. Please wear your seat belts. That could be a New Year resolution for you, and your helmets if you're on a two-wheeler as well. I'll see you next week.
One of the areas that many used car buyers tend to ignore is getting the insurance transferred to their name. Do remember that if the RC is registered in your name and the policy is still under the previous owners, then the insurance policy stands nullified. You just need to contact the insurance company who can help you with the process of transfer. If the previous owner doesn't have an insurance policy, you'll have to apply for a new one. This gets issued after a quick vehicle inspection. This option helps you to buy the policy from the company of your choice at a price that you're comfortable with. It also helps you negotiate a better price from the seller. In case of transfer of no-claim bonus, the insurance policy can be transferred to the new owner but not the bonus. If you're transferring the policy from the previous owner and he has a no-claim bonus discount on the policy, this can't be transferred to you. So it's best that you buy a new policy afresh in your name.